Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hygge With It. Today we are going way back to October of 2018 and we're looking at the books that I purchased, the books that I was sent, and we're going to pick one and put it on my TBR for this October. So let's get into it. I do this every single month. It keeps me accountable. Sometimes I fail miserably at this, but for the most part, I'm pretty good. So we're looking at all of the books that I bought or received in October of 2018, and we gotta pick one for this October. So we have 15 books for October of 2018 that I received or was sent. Let's get right into it. The first is The Paris Architect. This is a World War II book that sounds so good. This is about an architect who is hired to essentially hide one Jewish man in, I think, one of his buildings. And he could 100% be killed for doing this, and he agrees to it anyway. And it's about that experience, and I don't know whether he has a relationship with the man or not that he hides, but it sounds really great. The second book that I got is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, and this sounds really creepy about, I think, a little boy who is killed on Mother's Day or Father's Day, which would be the worst thing in the world. And then his or her sibling, decides to try to get to the bottom of what happened to their sibling. I can't remember if the protagonist is a boy or a girl now, but doesn't that sound wonderful? I really love protagonists that are children that are trying to solve a crime. It's kind of reminding me or giving me Dead Girls vibes. By Abigail Tartland, and I really loved that. So there's that one. There's also House of Glass. This was sent to me. This is historical fiction that takes place in the early 1900s, and it's about a woman who is hired to go to this big, beautiful house and fill its greenhouse with exotic plants. And she gets there and starts to hear rumors and finds out that there's something kind of off about the house. There's no one really around. So it sounds very gothic and very good. A Winter's Promise is a fantasy children's literature or YA fantasy book that I tried to read and I didn't like it. So it's actually gone from my shelves, unfortunately. I'll Be Gone in the Dark is a nonfiction book about a serial killer and serial rapist that Michelle McNamara was trying to hunt down. And this is her book. Sadly, she passed away before it was finished and before he was caught. And he was caught. This book is not something to be picked up lightly, I would say. I was terrified of being alone in the house after reading it because it's about home invasion. All of these rapes, all of these murders happened to couples or women who were on their own, in their own homes, and he was just truly terrifying. So I thought it was a really well done. It had mixed reviews from a lot of people who didn't think that it was like polished enough, but she died before it was finished, so I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to say that. Next is Bellevue Square. This is about doppelgangers. It's about a woman who goes to Kensington Market in Toronto, and people will often say, were you here before? There's someone who looks exactly like you who lives around here or something. And she's trying to track down this woman who looks exactly like her. And I think there's like a mystery involved in it. It sounds like a lot of fun. Next is The Last. This one is kind of sci-fi apocalyptic. This basically follows a group of people who go to this event in Sweden, in Switzerland. They go to this event and essentially the world ends. There are, I think, bombs dropped all over the place, and basically everyone dies. Many, many, many people die, and they survive at this, you know, kind of remote location in Switzerland. And unfortunately, there is a murderer killing people off in this grand mansion castle-y thing where they're staying for this event. It sounds like a lot of fun. We Were the Lucky Ones is a historical fiction book, World War II historical fiction book, inspired by the author's family. So the author's family were Jewish during World War II. I think all of them survived, or most of them survived. I don't know yet because I haven't read the book. But many of them survived because they split up and went kind of all over the place. Some of them, I think, went to America. They dispersed, and I don't know whether they all reconvened together again. But it's the story of her family and how they survived. Obviously, it is fiction, so it is the fictionalized version of that story. I think I've heard Krista over at Books and Jams talking about that one and how she really, really liked it. Like Water for Chocolate is next, and this is an interesting book. It's made up of recipes, and it's a love story for food, basically, and I've always wanted to read it. I don't know if I'm in the mood for it right now, but I've got that one as well. The Stranger Diaries is next, and this is about a woman who's, I think, a high school teacher, and she is teaching her kids this author's work. It's one of her favorite authors, Mr. Holland or something, Holland something. Anyway, and one of her best friend dies, and the work that she has been teaching her kids, that is her favorite work, a fiction, is found by this woman's body, and she's trying to like sort out how she feels about this. She's very upset, obviously. These two things that she's loved this book, she's loved this woman, and to have such a tragic thing happen, terrifying thing happen, and the two things being linked makes her feel really uncomfortable. So she starts writing in a diary. And at some point, she looks back at an old diary entry and she sees someone else's handwriting written. It says, "Hello, Claire, you don't know me." And she knows it's not her that's written this, and has someone been at her house. It just sounds creepy and like such a good read for October. The Last Mrs Parish is next. This is a thriller about a woman who's kind of down on her luck. She's very jealous of this neighbor that she has on her street who has everything together, or so it seems. And she infiltrates herself into that woman's life, and I don't think that goes well. That usually doesn't end well, that's for sure. Half Spent Was the Night is a book that I was sent. It's part of Amy McKay's Witches series. I didn't love it. It was centered around Christmas, which you'd think I'd love, and it's gorgeous, but the story itself I just felt kind of meh about. So I've read it anyway, so I won't be choosing that one. Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna is way too summery for what I want to read in October. But this is about two high school girls who are like very, very close. They stick by each other's side all through high school, all through their like early adult lives, and then there's some sort of betrayal that happens. And I think you follow them from the get-go, from when they met all the way until you find out what the betrayal is. And I really want to know what it is, but not right now. Dracula is a book that I DNF'd, unfortunately. It's a retelling of Dracula, and it is written from the perspective of Bram Stoker, who wrote Dracula, and him writing the book, and it's sounding like there are actual vampires after him while he's trying to write it. I just didn't think it was very well written, and I put it down because I didn't like it. So it's not on my shelves anymore. There's also Dracula, which is a classic, and I don't think I even need to talk about what Dracula is about. Vampires. So those are all of the books that I got in October of last year, and now I need to choose which book I want to read. I've got 3 that are calling out to me. I'm going to read a little bit of each of them right here and then choose for October. So the first is The Stranger Diaries. It just sounds creepy and right up my alley for October. Next is The Last, which I have heard mixed things about, but it also sounds creepy and kind of Agatha Christie-ish. And then There Were None. I don't know, it gives me those vibes. And then the last one is House of Glass. Love the idea of this one because it does sound gothic. So we shall see. I'm going to read a little bit from each of them and then choose. So far, this is kind of sad about a little girl who can't go outside because of an illness. And she's stuck inside learning about the outside world through books, which is very sad. Not sure if it's spooky. Let's try The Last next. This is gripping right away. I mean, it is about the end of the world. And I like that it's about the end of the world in progress of the world ending and not like afterwards. It's not post-apocalyptic, it's apocalyptic. So, interesting. Also, it's got a blurb on the end, on the back by Emily St. John Mandel that says, brilliantly executed, the questions Jameson poses, who will be with you at the end of the world and what kind of person will you be, are as haunting as the plot itself. So I don't know. So far that one's really calling out to me. And then the last book that I need to read from is The Stranger Diaries. So it does look good, but you know what? The Last is what I'm going to read in October. It's gripping and interesting, and I don't know, I haven't read an apocalyptic book in a long time, so this is the winner. Let me know in the comments below if you wanted me to pick up The Last, or if there was another book that you were hoping I would pick up instead. I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye guys!